systole, right? So if you want to say atrial systole, you're more than welcome to say that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, for the cardiac cycle, we're also going to draw. We're going to draw a heart. This time, I recommend drawing it on a blank sheet of paper, sideways. We're going to take up the whole page. Because that little heart that we drew, this time we're going to draw it 5 times. Okay? So this is how we're going to do it. Line down the middle of the page. Then we're going to do this. And do that.
You should remember this, Sydney. Huh? You should remember this. It's been a day.
We good?
You
All right,
did
now we're
this
going to
and
draw
I
it
still don't
1,
remember it, so I'm
2,
gonna take the quiz.
3, 4, 5 times. So, you don't
So
remember
long, man.
3 dashes? 1, 2, 3. Big smiley face. Middle dash, it's a line. And then bam. Just like that.
The contraction stuff that we needed to know for physio, do we, like, when you were doing the drawings, do we also need to know that for anatomy?
Not necessarily, you just have to know what's happening in each. You don't have to know, like, oh, you know.
Like the ventricles need to contract for like
Yeah.
stuff to come out the synovium.
You don't have to necessarily know, like, what valves are closed and stuff like that. It's not as intense as that. As long as you name them in the right order and where is blood moving, that's all we really care about for this one.
Okay.
But I'll still go more in depth just to help you out, and then also to kind of give them like a nice little review. But yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3. Everybody good? Okay, now keep in mind it's a cycle, right? You can start wherever you'd like. She started with atrial contraction. Personally, I like to start with the next step, isovolumetric contraction. Actually, hold on.
Is that atrial filling?
No. Yes, so
You see my notes?
isovolumetric contraction.
So and so, yeah. I can't check right now though.
Or wait a minute, no, hold on. Actually, never mind. I like to start off with the other one. I like to start off with ventricular filling, passive filling. Cool? So, it's like, wait a minute, that's not right. All right, now, X just means they're closed. If they're open up like this, that means they're open. So, closed, open. So, semilunar valves up top. For this first one, this is going to be ventricular filling or passive filling, whatever you want to call it. Semilunars up top are going to be closed. And if the ventricles are being filled up, are the AV valves going to be open or closed? The cuspid
Open.
valves? Open, because blood has to go from the atrium down into the ventricles, right? Now, I know with the drop of blood, we talked about one side going into the other side, but keep in mind, both atriums simultaneously contract, and then both ventricles simultaneously contract, right? So it's not like right atrium, left atrium, like it's not like that. It's more boom, 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 boom. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. So now these are open, right? And blood's going from the atriums down into the ventricles. And we're now filling up the ventricles. This is called ventricular filling or passive filling.
So it's semi-lunar or pulse?
Yes, semilunar valves are closed.
Blood's coming out on both sides.
Yes.
Ventricular filling or what else?
Or passive filling. The reason why it's called passive filling is because there's no contraction with the atrium or the ventricles. Literally blood just falling into the ventricles.
So the semilunars are closed and the atriums are open?
The AV valves are open. Because I wouldn't say atriums because atrium refers to the atria, right? The chambers themselves. Whenever we're saying open, closed, we're talking about valves. So you can either say AV valve or the cuspid valves. Personally, I like staying with cuspid valves because it makes more sense. I can spell cuspid, tricuspid, but I can't spell atrioventricular.
But she lets us say AV, right?
I think so. So I use them interchangeably.
AV is on both sides?
Mhm. It's in between the atrium and the ventricles. That's why they're called AV. Or cuspid. Again, whatever one you want to go with. Are we good so far? Okay, now, whenever you see this, right? Squiggly line like this. On the outside, that means there's a contraction. So what's being contracted here? The what?
Aorta.
The atrium.
Sorry.
Great job.
Aorta.
No worries.
Aorta.
The aorta. No worries. I used to actually get aorta and atrium mixed up all the time. Now, if the atriums are contraction, in which direction is blood going to go to?
Out.
To the ventricles. Great job. Oh, out of the atrium. Now
Yeah.
I see what you mean. All right, yes. So if there's blood going into the atrium, more blood, what's it called? Are the cuspids or AV valves, are they open or closed? They're still open. Because remember, anytime blood's going into the ventricles, those AV cuspid valves are always open. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, what about the semilunar valves? They're closed. Great job. We good? So basically, I know you guys are thinking about like, well, what's the difference between this one and this one? The way I always explain this is imagine if you have a rag and you dunk it in water, right? And then you hold it up. What's happening if I'm just holding it up?
Gravity's pulling it
Like
down.
a bunch of water is just falling down. I don't have to squeeze it at all. Literally, it's just gonna be dripping wet. So, right? But after a while, it starts to like dribble a little bit, but then it stops dribbling at all. Does that mean this rag that I have in my hand, is it completely dry? No. If I wring it out, more water is gonna come out. So, in other words, this is where the majority of the blood that fills up the ventricles are gonna happen. So in passive filling or atrial filling, the majority of the blood that fills up the ventricles happens here. Cool? This right here is wringing out the last bit of blood. Taking out, trying to put as much blood as possible, making sure we get all the blood into the ventricles as possible. Does that make sense? So this right here is called atrial contraction or atrial systole. I'm gonna write what she had for you guys. Atrial contraction. How do you feel about that? Mhm. So this one was 1, 2. Again, it's different from what she, her order, but remember it's a cycle. You can literally pick whichever one you want. Okay? We good? All right, this one right here is going to be 3 over here. So we're moving this way. Now, right here in the ventricles, we're going to have a small little contraction, tiny one. Small contraction. Okay? Excuse me. But that little bit of contraction is enough to close off the cuspid valves. Now, is it enough to open up the semilunar valves? No. So semilunar valves are also closed. Yes.
Do you mind if you start with putting like what that cycle is called?
Oh yeah, I do it at the end. Like right here. But I got you. I'll put it right here. Everybody good so far? Okay. So this right here, what's going to happen is because of the contraction in the ventricles, the blood, remember there's a lot of blood in the ventricles now. Because of atrial systole or atrial contraction, we put a lot of blood inside the ventricles. The second we start to squeeze the ventricles, what's going to happen is the blood is going to rush up and close those valves. Does that make sense? Of course. So what happens is the ventricles, because they're filled up with blood so much, they're going to begin to contract, but there's not a huge contraction, just a slow contraction. That's enough to shut, the blood's going to go and shut these valves up. That's all. Because remember, valves only open and close in one direction. They don't prolapse. In other words, they don't open up going this way. If they do, that's when you have like a huge issue. Yes?
Weak contraction or slow contraction?
It's basically the beginning of a big contraction. This is like kind of like the beginning of it. It's eventually going to get big, but first it's very small. So because all valves are closed here and there's a small contraction, we call this isovolumetric contraction, right? Yes. Cool. Yes, please.
The top two X's, is that the pulmonary vein?
The pulmonary semilunar valve and the aortic semilunar valve. No worries. It's a semilunar valve basically. So it's ISO. Now the reason why it's called isovolumetric, iso just means the same, right? Volume means the pressure around the blood, like the blood around all the chambers are pretty much the same. That's why it's called isovolumetric contraction. Cool?
How's the pressure the same if there's contraction at the bottom?
Well, because you also have the pressure kind of going up like this, pushing down, right? And it's a small contraction. It's not a big contraction yet. At this, basically, because right here the pressure in the atriums were greater, right? Here, this is when they stopped contracting, and this is beginning to become stronger than the atrium, right? That's why it hasn't become stronger, but it will be. Cool. So biggest thing here, there's no blood movement. No blood movement. Cool.
I thought it moves to shut the valve.
No, like what I mean, whenever I say movement, I mean through a valve. There's no blood moving through a valve. That's what I mean. So there's no blood leaving the heart, or there's no blood going into the ventricles anymore. It stays either inside the ventricle or inside the atrium.
So it's filling up and then it's closing the valves because it's filling up.
Mm-hmm. Good? All right, cool.
Wait,
Yes.
if both are semi-lunar and the triceps are closed,
Mm-hmm.
the blood just stays in there.
Yes. It's only for literally all these steps that are happening, that we're going to go over, this happens in a split second. Every single one of these steps happen within a split second. So every time you hear a heartbeat, that all of these steps happened already. Every time you hear a heartbeat. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but what is happening?
What you mean?
Like when the blood stays in the ventricles?
Basically, it's getting ready for this next phase. That's all.
Oh, so it's getting ready for contraction.
Exactly. That's all. We good? Okay. Now we're gonna move on to the next one. This is where the ventricles develop so much force. Now it's a big contraction. Really big one. So remember this, anytime there's a contraction in the ventricles, small or big, what's always gonna be closed?
AV valves.
The AV valves would always be closed. Cool. Doesn't matter if it's a small contraction or a big contraction. AV valves are always going to be closed in the ventricles. So if the ventricles are having a big or small contraction, AV valves are closed. Semilunar valves are closed. Now, this contraction is so powerful, it's going to be enough to open up these doors. So in other words, Now blood exits out of the heart. You can either call this the ejection phase or ventricular. She said ventricular ejection, right?
Something like that.
Or did she say ventricular systole?
No, she said ejection.
Okay. Cool. So ventricular ejection or ejection phase. So because the blood is being ejected out of the heart, that's why it's called ventricular ejection. It's coming out of the ventricles. Or you can call it the ejection phase. Yes.
So the blood from the right ventricle.
Both ventricles, right and left.
Where do
Yeah.
they go?
They're either gonna, so on the right side, where is it gonna go?
Right.
To the pulmonary semilunar valve. And the left side is gonna go through the what? Aortic semilunar valve. The aorta, the right side is gonna send blood towards the lungs. The left side is gonna send blood to the rest of the body. Yes.
So it's kind of like a volcano eruption.
Literally. Exactly. Like there's the beginning part of the volcano eruption, and then there's a huge eject, like where actually like things start coming up. Yeah. Yes.
So those at the top are arteries, and then on the sides where the atriums are,
Like these right here?
on the side, like
Like here?
those are where the veins are connected.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
So
Or-
its purpose pretty much would be to keep blood from rushing back to the veins.
The valves?
Yeah.
The valves, yeah, basically where we don't want blood going back towards the atrium, because we want blood to leave the heart. We don't want blood pooling. That's how you get blood clots. Yes.
When you finish that last step,
Mhm.
can you like like when the heart is contracting, it like gets bigger and smaller. It goes like this, right? Like when the heart is contracting, when it gets like bigger, can you explain like which of these steps is doing that, and then when it goes like this?
So whenever you're thinking about bigger or smaller, it's think about them as like there's a part in the. I see what you mean, but keep in mind that it's not necessarily the heart itself. It's more either the ventricles or the atrium. It's
That's
one or the other.
going like this.
Yeah.
But I thought like one beat is like the whole thing.
So because one beat it's boom boom. That's a beat. Right.
So that's atrium, ventricle.
Yeah. Now that right there, what's happening is the first. That's the shutting of these valves.
To push out.
Exactly. Right. Basically, that's the first love sound. The second one is whenever these shut.
To
Right.
refill.
Exactly. That's all.
What is this word that you said?
Loved up.
Love dub.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. She doesn't go in depth with that.
It's just interesting to know.
It's really cool. I think it's awesome. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the last step. Now, there's still going to be a small contraction here in the ventricles. Very, very tiny one. Small little tiny one. Right? But now remember, if there's a contraction inside the ventricles, what's happening to the semilunar the cuspid valves? Cuspid valves.
Closed.
They're closed. Doesn't matter if it's a big or a small one. These will remain closed. Cool. Are we good? All right. Now remember, the semilunar valves. Do they need a lot of pressure to open or a little bit of pressure?
A lot.
A lot. So do you think this small little one's going to be able to open it?
No.
No. So these are also closed. Cool. Now in this phase, there's little to no blood inside the ventricles. But what's happening here is we're continuously sending blood back into the what? The atrium. So these atriums are filling up with blood. Right?
Is the ventricle completely empty or like there's
Completely to little, there's little to no blood inside the ventricle. There's obviously going to be like drops of it, but almost nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good thing. We want to make sure, because I mean, think about it. if your ventricles are contracting, do you want all the blood out of there, or do you want only half of it? You want to make sure we get blood all the way out. Cool?
Wait, how much?
Yes.
So what's the difference between that and step 3, where like the tiny
So step 3. So what was the biggest difference between here and here?
well, one
That's
has
it.
blood, right?
Whatever the ventricle.
Ventricles.
Oh.
So here the ventricles have little to no blood. This one the ventricles have a lot of blood. That's the biggest difference.
So from 5, did you go around back to 1?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so cool.
So awesome. So this one right here, you can either call it what's the last one? I forgot what she named it. Isovolumetric relaxation or atrial filling. I like atrial filling because it tells you exactly what it's doing.
Yeah.
But she called it relaxation. No, she said filling.
Yeah.
Is it relaxation?
Yeah. It's relaxing.
What there is relaxed?
The what's it called? Well, the ventricles are beginning to relax, and the atriums are completely relaxed.
Oh, this is the one that she says how much.
The kind of, yeah. Yeah, but or you can also call this atrial filling. That's my favorite one because it tells you exactly what it is happening. The atriums are filling up with blood. Volumetric relaxation. Cool?
So she just wants us to understand what's happening, and so whatever we call it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter as long as you name it the right way.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can explain it, but you forgot to put what the step is called, do you think she would still know that?
She might give you partial points.
Hi, we just write the name and circle all the
I would just explain like where blood is moving, or is blood moving at all, right? I think that's what she really wants to focus on. Now, what's it called? So now, blood is filling up with the atriums. The atriums have a lot of blood now. What's keeping this closed?
The ventricle contraction?
The contraction of the ventricle, right? Because if you think about it, if there's a lot of blood and I'm holding it like this, right? I should let it go, right? If I'm holding it against gravity, I should let it go. But because the ventricles are still contracting a little bit, it's keeping it up. What do you think is going to happen the second this contraction goes away?
The AV valves open
AV valves open, and blood goes where?
to the ventricles.
Into the ventricles.
Can you call isovolumetric contraction like ventricle filling?
Or which one? I'm sorry.
For 3?
No. Because technically, this is ventricle filling. Alright? Because if you think about it, the ventricles are not being filled in this state. Because what's being closed?
AV valves.
See what I mean?
But that one we can say atrial filling.
You can say atrial filling.
So the 3, the only thing that happens is one of the smaller
Mm-hmm.
it's just closing all the way.
That's all.
And then there's like
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Just like a volcano, you like the rumbling, right? And then the actual bam. And then this is where like it starts to die down. Yeah. You're welcome. And that's fine. This is called cardiac cycle. So if she says cardiac cycle, this is what you draw, this is what you explain, right? If she says trace a drop of blood, you do not do this. You will get no points, right? Even if you do it amazing. So a drop of blood, that's the flow of blood through the whatever, right? Yes, that's all.
So the only difference between 1 and 2 is that there's a small contraction happening.
Exactly.
Or is it smaller?
For which one? 1 and 2. For 2 and what?
2 versus 1.
Is it a big contraction or it's small?
It's a big contraction in the atrium. That's where it's specific, right?
So that's the difference.
Yeah. So this one is just happening passively. There's no contraction happening at all here. Whereas here, yeah. I did this example with Sydney the other day, right? Where I made her hold up her backpack like this. And I was holding it up.
That was
Right.
2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I have no perception of time anymore. So basically, or you know what? Here, we'll make you do it. Stand up.
Yeah, you.
So, I want you to hold this up like this. Hold it, stretch out arms. Okay. So, right now.
Tomato almost killed me.
So
with
right
this.
now, what's it called? She's holding a lot of blood in number 5, right? You can chill out a little bit because I'm helping you out. Yeah. Okay. Kind of sucks.
Till he's not.
Okay.
He's gonna drop it and hit your head.
Don't.
Maybe. Why
I
are you
won't drop it just
underestimating her
FYI.
muscles?
Okay, so
I'm sure she has great biceps
the
femoris.
what's it called? This is number 5 right now. I'm the ventricle. She's the atrium. She's holding all this blood. The reason why she's able to hold it is, I mean, she can do it without me, obviously. But she's jacked, bro. I mean, son. Anyways, but I'm helping her out right now. But the second I let go, right, all that blood's gonna come down. Now, if I didn't tell her, I didn't tell Sydney, and I forgot not to tell her.
I almost hit my head on
She
the
almost
table.
hit her head on the table. Anyways, yeah, like her head just went. Shoo. All right, that's all. That's it. That's it.
For now. For now.
So, for this weekend, if there's something that you guys want to get ahead and you guys want next week to be super less stressful for you guys, at least know the blood vessels. Okay, know the blood vessels. And don't even know the pathways. I don't care about that. Know the name of them,
That's more lecture exam, right?
and yeah, know the name of the blood vessels and what appendage they're on.
Appendage.
What like limb are they on? Yeah. So like for example, you're gonna see the basilarity artery, right? And you're gonna also see the basal artery, right? Or basale. That's gonna be on the arm, whereas basilary is gonna be in the brain. Does that make sense? So and then you're gonna see like radial, ulnar, those are gonna be easy. Brachial, those are gonna be easy. Most of them are gonna be named just like that, by the way. So they're super easy. They're very simple. Like for example, there's gonna be one that's gonna be called the subclavian. Guess where that's gonna be? No, sub means what?
Below.
Below the clavicle,
Means below.
right? And then there. Okay, how about this femoral? What do you think that's gonna be?
On the femur.
On the femur, right? It's gonna be right there. Yes, please.
Can you go over
The what?
the pericardium?
The layers of the heart, yeah, for sure. So basically, you have the. How far in depth did she go with that? I kind of missed the first part.
She went through like the sac and like the layers.
Did she talk about the serous membrane and stuff
Yes.
like that? Okay. Cool, perfect. All right, I just wanted to make sure I'm not giving you guys more. So, first, if you look at the heart is gonna have these two layers. By the way, you guys can leave whenever you want. Don't feel like you guys. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, can you get, or excuse me, sorry. After this, can you please go over the QRS complex?
Oh my god, I forgot all about that. Yeah, definitely will. Okay, so
Should I go right now?
so you're gonna have this layer.
Wait, hold on.
It's like
It
almost
looks
done,
like
basically.
it's two layers, but it's actually just one layer, continuous,
I'll do
right?
it.
'Cause it folds on top of each other.
I missed this one. Am I in the video?
No,
If I'm sitting like this?
no, it's only like
Okay. I'm like looking.
Okay. So there's two layers right here. You have this more outer layer,
Do you want to turn
right?
this?
And then you have the one that's more closer to the heart. This outer layer is going to be called the parietal pericardium.
I can't see, so. Oh, that's fine.
Aw, so cute.
Looks like an earring.
Looks like a heart. Like two swans.
Peri means around, cardium means heart, IUM means a layer, or like a wrapping, or connective tissue. I don't know. Yes. Parietal pericardium.
Is it important for us to say parietal layer?
You can say parietal layer of the pericardium, or you can just say parietal pericardium. Yeah, which is what I recommend. Now, this more inner layer, this is going to be the visceral. And then same thing, pericardium.
The first one is what, sorry?
Parietal pericardium. Now, the visceral pericardium has another name to it. You can either call it the visceral pericardium or the epicardium. We good? Awesome.
So the visceral and then the epicardium are just the same.
Now, deep to that, you're gonna have this very thick layer. This is one layer, it's not two layers. One layer. It's just a really, really thick. So it's not two layers, it's one layer, but it's really, really thick. This is the thickest layer of the heart.
Is it myo?
Yes. Myocardium. And what kind of tissue would you find here? Cardiac muscle tissue. Great job.
Cardiomyocytes.
So this is going to be the.
That's physio, isn't it?
No, you should still know that too.
She, yeah.
Well, fuck.
She
Myocardium.
did say something similar. Oh yeah, myocardium.
Mhm. You should know that this is where the muscles, like if she says in which layer do the cardiac muscle cells live in or stay in, cardiomyocytes. Cool. Now the last layer is gonna be the deepest layer.
Endocardium.
It's gonna be epithelial tissue, and that's endocardium. Great job. And what is this gonna be in contact with?
The cavity.
The chambers.
Kind of. It's gonna be it's gonna be touching something. What is it gonna be
Connective
touching?
tissue.
Epithelial?
No.
It is epithelial tissue.
You're gonna be so mad when I tell you. It is made up of epithelial tissue, but what is it gonna be touching?
The other layer.
Seriously.
Blood.
What is it?
Blood.
Blood.
That's the cavity. That
Did you?
it's touching the
Say it with some
cavity.
confidence.
It's touching the it's the cavity and blood touching.
So the
So we were technically right.
Mhm. Yeah. This is what's lining the chambers, right? Cool. Did she talk about fibrous pericardium? Or no?
Yeah.
She did? Okay, never mind then. There's one more that's more superficial to all of these. This is going to be the more outer layer. This is going to be connective tissue. And this is what's going to be anchoring. I think this is like Spider-Man kind of thing. I don't know why. It's like Spider-Man's web. Basically, like, it's fibrous, and it like literally what it does is it reaches out and anchors the heart and it suspends it on like just in the space. Does that make sense? So fibrous pericardium. Okay, if you ever think of it, how come whenever you jump and land on your feet, why doesn't your heart just drop? These are the things I think about at home. No, the reason why is because we have connective tissue that's anchoring the heart in place. Right? It's anchoring to actual bones, like to your sternum, to your clavicle and whatnot. To the first rib, second rib, I think.
So where's the subclavicle? Here.
Subclavian artery. So basically, it would be like, so you're gonna have the aorta coming out from here, right? And then you're gonna have the brachiocephalic trunk.
Right.
Off of the brachiocephalic trunk, you're gonna have the subclavian there, common carotid artery, and then you're gonna have the subclavian going this way.
Wait, sorry. What is the black one again?
Fibrous pericardium.
Fibrous pericardium.
Yes.
She mentioned earlier in lecture there's like this thing that is around the heart so that when it contracts it doesn't create friction.
That's the what's called the serous membrane, the pericardium,
Pericardium.
the parietal and the visceral pericardium. Oh, I forgot to mention, in between those two layers, there's serous fluid.
What's the fluid for?
Between the parietal.
To reduce friction. Yes.
Wait, it's located. The fluid is located where? In between all the
In
layers?
between, no, just between these two.
Okay.
Oh, peri and
The
visceral.
fibrous pericardium.
Fluid to
Fibrous
reduce-
pericardium.
Black part is fibrous pericardium. Wait, what are the two pericardiums? Visceral and what's the superficial? Parietal.
Yeah, in between those two layers, you have serous fluid, and that's reducing friction.
Okay.
Great job,
It's
Tim.
complex.
Huh? Oh yeah, QR complex. Forgot all that. So literally, what you guys should know is one, the pathway of the conduction. I feel like I'm done. So you're gonna have the SA node. SA is gonna be the primary pacemaker of the heart. Do a little heart like this. terrible heart or whatever. Cool. Now, ASA is going to have some fibers going this way and going this way. But it's also going to have another one that goes to the center, right down the middle. And that's going to be the AV node.
What is that?
So this is the conduction system of the heart.
Oh.
Now, the AV node is also, it's going to be called the not the primary, but the secondary pacemaker of the heart. It's going to have some conduction fibers going this way and whatnot. Right? Now, from here, we're going to have this big bundle called the AV bundle or bundle of His. I really don't care what you call it. Now, from here on either side, this right here represents the interventricular septum. It's going to go down this way, the right and left bundle branches, and then into the Purkinje fibers. Cool?
Around the ventricles. Right?
Mm-hmm. So first we had the SA node going to the AV, going to the AV bundle, and then into the right and left bundle branches to the Purkinje fibers, right?
Is that what causes the contraction in the ventricles?
All right, and then this right here, and every single time I write it differently. It's actually pretty impressive. But every time I write it, I never get it right. So, anyways. So,
Isn't it per?
I have no idea.
P-U-R-K-I.
I don't care about people's names.
Yeah.
Ujai. Yes.
Now, explain its correlation to the P wave, torus, blah blah, T wave to this and to that.
I got you. So, I wouldn't necessarily compare this to this because you will get confused. And you don't have to know either for anatomy or physiology. Cool? But what you should know is when these two kind of how should I do this? When these two kind of go together, what it's going to cause is going to cause an electrical impulse called the P wave.
When they both go off,
Yes. So the biggest thing you should know is the P wave is the depolarization of the atrium. So depolarization of the atrium. Then there's a slight delay, right? Why do you think we want a small delay? Why not just make it go all at once?
Isn't not all
Yeah, but why not?
you're gonna have a heart attack, right?
You're gonna have really?
Well, think about it. Okay, so if I'm sending blood down into the ventricles and the ventricles are contracting, can they receive blood?
No.
No, they're pushing against each other. So in other words, we're not gonna get any. So instead, we're gonna both contract both of the atrium simultaneously, have a slight delay in order for the ventricles to fill up with blood, and then have them contract. So that slight delay is this little piece right here. And then we're gonna have the QRX complex, right? What's that?
URS.
Is it?
Ventricle repolarization?
Not repolarization, but
Depolarization.
depolarization of the
Ventricles?
ventricles. Right? So this QRX complex is ventricular
Ventricle system.
no, depolarization.
So the delay, is that happening at the AV bundles?
Yes. Not the AV, not in the right and left bundle branches, but the AV bundle itself. Oh?
So
That flat line, right?
Hmm?
Sorry.
So for physio, the cardiac cycle and then this PQRS stuff tied in together. Is she gonna do that?
Not necessarily.
Because
I
like
think-
I have in my notes like P wave atrial systole, Q is isovolumetric contraction, RS is ejection phase.
No,
T
even
wave
that's
is-
too much for physio too, to be honest. She didn't even ask that much in physio. I think what you should know, and this is like also for physio, is that If she says someone comes in with abnormal P wave, what do you suspect is going on with their heart? So their atriums are not really contracting as much, right? There's a problem with the QRX complex. What do you suspect is going to happen?
Ventricles don't contract. And
They don't contract as well, right? Or that well, I should say. And then the T wave is what?
ventricles begin to relax.
Good job. So ventricular, whatever, repolarization.
So depolarization is what causes contraction.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
basically the light switch turning on.
what about repolarization?
They're relaxing. Cool. That's all.
Ventricles relaxing.
Good job.
And I'm sorry, the last part, what was that again?
Ventricular repolarization. So basically the ventricles relaxing and refilling up with blood. So if there is an issue with that, basically the ventricles are not able to relax as well and receive blood.
So is that ventricular filling?
Yeah,
Because it's relaxed.
and also atrial
Atrial
contraction. Yeah.
But what about the 3, 4, and 5 where
These are like
ventricle-
QRS.
QR. Do you mind if you write it on the board, please?
You don't have to know that for this class. I'm really scared that you're gonna get too deep with this, but I'm more than happy to. So, this would be.
I sent you the notes. It says it on there. I broke it down. The
Oh, okay.
PQRS and the different.
The only reason why is because I don't want. I know you get really in depth,
Yeah, I
and then
didn't.
you don't have to get that far in depth, right? So this would be P. Yeah, don't.
Here.
P2.
And then.
Oops, I zoomed in too much. P, H, S, C, R, S,
Oh.
T, and then pre-P wave is passive filling.
And then.
I leave in two.
PQRS. But the T's not on there.
And then this would also be T.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
See you
you.
Friday maybe.
Yeah. That's all. Talk to me.
Regarding this heart line,